Hey everyone, welcome to today's video where we're gonna yet again look at Nio delivery numbers expectations for Q3 and Q4. Based on that, we will argue if Nio will be profitable as the CEO has mentioned over the past couple of months. I've considered the comment section and updated my model here. I increased the number of vehicle delivery numbers from previously 110,000 in Q4 to 145,000 and also increased Q2 and Q3. The reason why I'm doing this is to potentially look at a scenario where I'm a little bit too over conservative and now trying to compensate it for that and look at the alternative view where the company is actually going to perform better than expected. So we can start to see at Nio Firefly we start to use the Horizon robotics chips, which will power the ADAS system, the self-driving system if you say so, and it's going to be obviously cheaper than the chips that they buy from Nvidia, the Orion chips from Nvidia, which probably cost, according to some of the comments, maybe around 1,000 or 1,400 per car if they use 4 of them on each car. That will obviously be quite a lot of savings with their own in-house made chip. That has to be said though, that is based on huge number of car sales, because there is a huge amount of cost that goes into manufacturing your own chips, your own mask for these chips, and there needs to be somewhat of a huge volumes for them in order for this kind of venture to make sense. So Nio has to probably to sell hundreds of thousand cars and probably they're gonna need to do like 4 or 5 of these chips per car maybe in order to be profitable venture in that sense. Additionally, we also have organizational changes to focus more on cost control, which is good. That being said, again, we've seen these kind of discussions from Nio previously, but I think this time it's more urgent. We know that if they don't manage to do this kind of stuff, the potential future of the company is in danger. So I'm hopeful that they actually for once promise on and deliver on their promise. Then we also know that they launched the upgrade model ES6 and EC6. In addition to that, the updated ET5 and ET5 Touring will also soon be on the market. These will incorporate a little bit update on the interior, a larger screen, a horizontal interior screen, as you can see here, the likes of the ET9 and also the Teslas. I would say that all these models also will come with the in-house Shenji NX9031 chip, which will obviously in the long term be quite cost saving for Nio. And in addition to all of that, we also have the more important point of the SGNA position there. You can see that I've kind of assumed that despite them increasing the number of vehicle sales compared to the last earnings, which was Q4 of 2024, you can see it here on column O with 74,000 deliveries almost, in which they then had 668 million of SGNA. Now I'm expecting them to double their sales to 145,000 cars by Q4 of this year, but the SGNA will be maybe 20 to 40 million at best. That's assuming a lot of efficiency increase, so these are assumptions. But again, the point of this video yet again is to look at a potential more positive view for Nio. So if we are assuming that they will be much more efficient, I mean there were also, according to the comment section, some discussions on the last earnings in which they, due to the Onvo ramp up, had maybe a little bit too excessive SGNA. So when you consider all of that, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and let's assume that they will essentially be almost twice as efficient in Q4 of this year as they were in Q4 of last year in terms of sales. When it comes to the R&D budget, I would say still that I'm not expecting them to go to the low, I'm not expecting them to decrease that budget from currently at around 450 to 500 million to let's say 350 or something like that. I would say they will stick around at these kind of levels. They have so many models, 3 different sub-brands, they have the swap infrastructure. So Nio has to spend more on R&D, sadly. That's just the reality of the things. But looking at all of this, if we actually start with Q4, what will the numbers look like? So 4.7 billion in revenue. How do we arrive at that number? Well, again, you have 145,000 deliveries times the average sales price. Now, this is a very difficult one. How do we know even the average sales price half a year from now on a doubling of the vehicle deliveries? My assumption is that since they had an average sales price of roughly 32 and 32,400 in the last earnings, again Q4 of last year, based on 74,000 cars. I'm assuming that number should be less right now in Q4 of 2025 due to the number of facts. For example, Onvo is a cheaper car than Nio, and Firefly is cheaper in car than Onvo and Nio. So if a lot of the volumes will come from Onvo and Firefly, I mean, realistically, the average sales price should be going down. Some of you might potentially argue that it's actually too high at 29,900 for Q4. But these are, in any case, my assumptions. That would mean that our revenue would be at around 4.7 billion. The total cost of sales, I think it's going to continue to go up substantially, but lesser than, let's say, the actual revenue. So you can see that revenue going up 25%, cost of sales going up 22.5%. So there's somewhat of a efficiency, in my opinion, not too exaggerated. This is, in a competitive car market, so I shouldn't expect any insane kind of efficiency gains there. This is again a very competitive market. There's loads of Xpengs, you have Li Autos, even Tesla, and so on and so forth. But that would actually put us a gross profit of 960 million, which is actually a good starting point. We know that the total operating expenditure is roughly 1.1 to 1.2 billion. So already they are at net income, or in this case net loss, of minus 200 million by Q4 of this year. And then I would say that with some other taxing and stuff, maybe we are getting to minus 70 to minus 100 million in this case net loss, which is substantially better than my previous model, which was a little bit more, some of you might say pessimistic, some of you might say realistic. But that previous number, based on our vehicle deliveries of 110,000, would be probably closer to 300 million net loss. Still nice improvement compared to the number of net loss that we currently have at almost a billion. But yeah, I would say in this scenario, assuming efficiencies, assuming that the newer refreshed models have better margin, the new Shenji NX9031 chip is, adding some efficiencies. They cut back on some of the positions, for example, SGNA, in relation to the number of cars sold. And all of that would actually, looked quite, in my opinion, that would actually lead to a company that will be on a quite substantial way to profitability, but still not being there just yet. But in all honesty, if someone tells me that Nio will be making a net loss of 100 million by Q4 of this year, I would be really, really, really happy, because we are essentially at break even, right? On the whole topic of swap stations and swap infrastructure build out, you can see that they are currently at 3,314. Average last 30 days is 93,000 swaps per day, which is roughly 27 swaps per station, well below the required 60 or so that they actually mentioned themselves in the last couple of years in order to be break even. In my opinion, since the utilization rate is so low, 27 swaps per station, the newest generation Gen 4 I think can handle 420 or so per day. So they are well below even 10%. They are probably closer to 6 or 7% of potential capacity of each station. So why do you need to build out so many new swap stations, even if get some subsidies from local governments or partnerships with other companies, right? I actually don't see why that is needed. But in any case, that's just the reality of this management. Looking a little bit on the stock price and the price target, current price target according to tip ranks is 491, and the current stock price is essentially at 4.1. Year to date we are down 6.5%. I would say again, looking at the market cap at 9.2 billion, if these numbers, these updated numbers are true, if Nio actually comes in at minus 100 million or so US dollar net loss, that would be a little bit too cheap in my opinion. They'll be making a revenue of 20 billion or so on annual run rate at that kind of number, right? And the market cap is 9 billion. It's price to sales ratio of 0.5. I would say it's very, very conservatively valued in that sense. Looking at the other sales, which I quite like, you can see the delta is decreasing in this last year, and they actually went for the first time in quite a long time positive. It means that the cost of other sales in relation to other sales is less, and that is a great position to be. Hopefully this number and this delta will increase on the positive side, and maybe in next year also Nio will actually make tens of millions per quarter in delta, which would be very, very good for the company's profitability. I'm assuming that the SGNA in red will go up. That's expected. They have to increase the number of salespeople and sales locations when they are doubling the number of cars sold. Although I would say that they would still, SGNA per number of cars sold will be substantially down in the up and coming year. Then looking at the R&D budget, you can see in green it's kind of stagnating according to my model. So that's actually really good to see. In addition to that, I mean, you can also see that the R&D divided by revenue and the SGNA divided by revenue will continue to go down according to the model. So again, pointing to a picture that this company is becoming at least more efficient. Is it enough? It's yet to be seen. Again, these are all assumptions, right? Let's not get carried away. Will they have a profitable Q4? Potentially. But this kind of hangs on quite a lot of positive stuff happening at the same time. Now again, lithium carbonate price continues to go down, so that for sure plays in Nio's hand, as it does with the rest of the electric vehicle market. But if you summarize this video, I would say the takeaway is that sure, is it potential there that they actually will do closer to 45,000 deliveries per month by Q4 of this year, rather than the previous, let's say 35,000 that I had in this previous model, which now takes up to this new updated model of 145,000 deliveries in Q4. I would say it's potential for sure. I mean, let's not forget that they actually delivered almost 30,000 cars in this quarter. And Onvo, although a lot of negative stuff has been said about Onvo, I would still say that, I mean, what was the actual delivery number? Let's go back and see the delivery numbers of Onvo last week. Well, actually the insurance registrations. Onvo managed to do 1,600, 1,700 cars in 1 week. That's 6, 7, 8,000 cars a month, right? On a single model. I mean, they could easily do 15, 20,000 Onvo deliveries per month easily, which means that they will do like 60,000 by Q4 in a single quarter. Then you have Firefly. How much should we assume? Maybe 10, 15,000 according to some of the comments. And then obviously the traditional Nio brand is still doing like 20,000 cars or so monthly currently. That's in addition to the Onvo, probably another 60,000 cars. So we are already there, 60,000 on Nio, 60,000 on Onvo, maybe 20,000 on Firefly, that's like 140K. So it's not like we don't need any groundbreaking numbers. It's just if they actually get at those numbers, will they also arrive at those delivery numbers with cost control? And that's probably where I'm sometimes a little bit more, cautious when it comes to Nio. I never doubted the delivery numbers. Like, they've, over the past couple of years, like since 2020, Nio has for sure increased their sales. 43,000 in 2020, 91 in 21. Then they increased it by a healthy 40,000 to 122,000 in 22. Then we reached 160,000 in 23, and last year in 24, 222,000. So they went from low 40,000s to 220,000 in span of 4 or 5 years. So the criticism towards Nio is not coming in terms of vehicle volume sales, and probably they will reach at least 370, 400,000 cars this year in 25. The problem has always been the management and the lack of cost control. So don't look at the only vehicle delivery numbers and revenue. What remains from the revenue, the gross profit, and can they ring in and control the operating expenditure? Will we see that the SGNA actually does not increase substantially, as some of you said in the comment, or will the reality be that by Q4 this SGNA post will be like 900 or even 1 billion? Then trust me, we have big problems, because those additional 300 millions would increase the net loss essentially by 300 million, and then we're back to square one with the net loss being at the bare minimum 300 million. And that's still in a somewhat positive scenario compared to the 1 billion net loss we had in Q4. So let's not get carried away. There's still a lot of whats and ifs in here, but in this video I try to consider the comments that you guys made in the comment section and look at it from the bright side. So yeah, if this happens, by all means, this is a super undervalued company. But the reason I think the market is not currently trusting that is due to the fact that let's wait and see, Will it be another 2023 and another 2024 with disappointment, not in terms of vehicle deliveries, but actual fundamentals of the company? Or will this be for once the 1 year in which they actually are true to their words and their promises? So anyways, thanks for your time. Please like and comment. I really enjoyed your comments in the comment section on the last video. And if you have any more ideas regarding these updated numbers, please make sure that you spread your ideas in the comment section. I will try to come back to you in the comments, or if you also need, please you can email me as well. But anyways, I will also mention that I'm creating a Discord channel for free, and you can join. I will update the links to that later. And yeah, that's gonna do it for today. So thanks for your time, and see you in the next one.